So David Fravor, who's been one of the heroes when it comes to UAP disclosure, he's one of the guys, the pilots that spoke up in the 2023 hearing. He was one of the badass who chased after the damn thing in his jet. So he doesn't speak up as much, or I shouldn't say that. You don't hear about him as much as you do, say, Ryan Graves or David Grush, or any of these other names. He doesn't talk a lot, or you don't see a lot of his clips a lot. But when he does, people listen. And so he was recently being interviewed, and he talked about disclosure and a similar beat to what a lot of people have been talking about, that, hey, they don't want this thing out there. But it's what he says in follow-up that I thought was intriguing. Check it out.
I think it's only a matter of time. And the reason I say that is there's so much momentum. The genie's not getting back in the bottle. I will say this. There are people inside the government that do not want this out. And they'll hide under its national security. Telling the world that we're not alone is not national security. Telling the world that we've retrieved crash objects. Just show us Roswell. That thing crashed. Just show us. And I think it's just a matter of time until the government comes out. And I don't want them to go, look, we've got this thing, we reverse engineering or whatever. You don't need to disrupt national security. Just be honest and say, look, we've known for the last 80 plus years that we're not alone. We recovered stuff at Roswell. That's all. I think people deserve that. I think the world deserves that.
I liked the definitive nature of what he says, because I think at the hearing, I mean, he always seemed like he believed it was something else. That they asked him, do you believe that we have things that could maneuver that way? And no, he doesn't. He never really seemed like he thought it was technology from other countries or anything too. It always kind of seemed like he believed, and for what he saw, it was something not of human made. But this is definitively saying we need the people and the powers that be to tell us that we're not alone. And he also started off there in that particular clip of saying that it's a matter of time, because the genie can't be put back in the bottle. And a lot of people have said that. A lot of people have talked about that. When I had Tim Gallaudet on this show, I asked him that question. I said, do you think that we'll see this sometime in our lifetime? And he said yes. And essentially saying the same thing, that there's just too many people talking about it now. The momentum is too big on it. But it's interesting, because inside of the community itself and on social media and other things, I think that is very true. And even the video that I did yesterday, or the other day, when I was talking about how more major news organizations are having the conversation, are talking about it, are asking questions. It's still, as Chris Cuomo said in his thing, that it still was like the fourth story when David Grush was talking about alien life being. It was the fourth story on his, and I think News Nation was the only network that even covered it. So, and the other thing is, I was talking to somebody about Disclosure Day, and it was a critic who was not, she wasn't, she was reviewing it only as a movie and was not informed on the topic at all. So we started talking about it, and she thought there were some interesting things that she thought maybe could have been in Disclosure Day in general. But then she asked me a question. She's like, because I was telling her, well, this actually, there's something similar to this and this particular moment that happened. And I was going over documented experiences and supposed reports and all those things. She's like, why don't more people talk about this? Why isn't this covered more? Why aren't, isn't this one of the biggest stories? Because I told her about the thing that happened with Grush, and she's like, how come that it wasn't on the news everywhere? I said, I don't know. And even Cuomo said it. He's like, this is the thing that he said that I thought was the most interesting on that video that we did. We were covering what he said, was the fact that Grush was up there making these claims, and no one from the government said, no, that's not true. Where's the response to that claim? Where is that? And he wasn't just there by himself. So I think Fravor's right, where the momentum in like the machine, in the machine itself, and people knocking on doors that weren't knocking on doors before, I think that's very much true. And I've always said since I started this channel, I don't get as much pushback on it today like I used to, but it is one of the major things that will push this thing more forward is more coverage on the topic in the mainstream media and not as the fourth or fifth story. When it's the first story or the second story, or whether or not, like, it is just, it's insane to me that someone of Grush's caliber was up there on the Capitol with other members of Congress, Republicans and Democrats, talking about this different life, and they're not covering it. When that happens, and it is the number one story, because that's all, it's just how we work as a society. If everybody walking down the street sees a news article or hears it on their sees it on their phone or sees it on TV when they go home, oh, this is the important story that everyone's talking about. This is the most important story. And then they go, oh, so I guess this is what we should be talking about then. Otherwise, it doesn't get to them and they don't hear it. So it's very clear. And this kind of goes to the point of, I think, what Fravor is saying, right? Is that clearly there are people who don't want us to talk about this and want it to be pushed away. But there's enough people. It is the introduction of social media, as I always mention, is the reason why we're still able to talk about it and why it's still a thing. It's why, because of clips shared and other things happening. So that's my thoughts on this. I'm gonna do, if I didn't do it already, just don't know. I'm gonna probably shoot these both in the same day. So this might come out tomorrow. I don't know. I want to do a video about the new UAP, the third dump that they did. If there was anything relevant in there. So that'd probably come out already. And then this one will probably come out on Saturday or something. So I'd like to get your thoughts on this topic in general. So put your thoughts in there. Let me know. Thanks for being here as always. See you soon.